If you're new to Logic Pro and you don't know where to start, this video is for you. So I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know so that you can get up and running, making beats, recording and mixing your own music. Let's get into it. So you've downloaded Logic Pro, you've downloaded your sample packs, you've downloaded the instruments and you're ready to go. You're ready to start creating some music. So first of all, let's open up Logic Pro. So we're going to go to empty project, double click on empty project and it's going to give you some options. Got 4 options: MIDI, pattern, session player and audio. But when you click on each one of these, it's going to give you some different options to choose from. So for now, we're just going to choose MIDI, and down here you can see in the details box, we're going to choose empty channel strip. If you choose default patch, I believe it brings up all different type of buses and stuff that it's going to get a bit complicated for you straight away. So we can keep that on empty channel strip, leave the audio output on stereo output, and number of tracks, we're just going to stick with 1. Create. So I'll just quickly walk you through what you can see straight away. So up here we've got the control bar, and on the left you've got your library for your different sounds, and you've got your inspector window panel, and you've also got the option to have the help function on. So when you hover over something, it will tell you exactly what it does. For example, stop button, playhead position, tempo. So if you ever get stuck, then you could leave that on, but I like to keep that turned off. Gets a bit confusing. So here we've got the toolbar button. I don't really bother with that. You can if you want to, but just to keep it simple, we're not going to bother with that. And then you've got your smart control button, so that will bring up certain plugins that you're using. And you've got your mixer, and this one here, you've got your MIDI editor, your edit window, your editor, so you can edit some MIDI down here if you want to. We'll get to that in a bit. So here we've got the rewind, forward, stop, play, record, rewind in place is that, 3 tempo recording. And you've got your cycle option, so you can loop a section. Over here we've got the display that shows you your beats, your bars, your tempo, your time signature, the key that you're in. And this can all be changed if you want to. You can just click on that little arrow and change it to whatever you're comfortable with seeing. I'm just going to leave it on beats and project for now. Here you've got your replace button, and you've got your solo button, and we've got the counting and your metronome. Here's the volume, overall volume. Please don't touch that, just leave it on 0. And on the right here we've got the list. So this would be your list. Once you start to create, you'll see all different stuff going on in here: event, marker, tempo, signature, all of that stuff. You got your notepad, so you can write some stuff down for the project or on the individual track, which is cool. And then you got your loops, your sound packs, and here is your project folder. So once you start to save things, you'll see them appear in here. And then you've got your all files where you can just navigate to different samples or whatever stuff that it is that you're using and want to bring into your project, which is cool. So let's go back to the left. Got your library. Here you're going to have all your sounds, the different sample packs that you've downloaded. Press Y, get rid of that. And then you've got your inspector panel, which is for your instruments and your audio. Whenever you make a channel, you're going to see this channel strip appear. And that's where you can add your effects, your instruments and all the good stuff. So to quickly walk you through this MIDI channel, you've got your settings where you can save stuff from the channel that you created. EQ, double click on the EQ is going to bring up Logic Pro's stock EQ. Now you're going to see it on your first insert. Just get rid of that. Instrument, that's where you open up all your instruments. So if we wanted to say, for example, choose a drum synth, that's how you open your instruments. And the next section, you've got your audio effects. So your EQs, your compressors, your phasers, modulation, all of that type of stuff. That's where you open up your audio effects. Got your sends here, which is sends allows you to send some signal to a bus and an aux, which is maybe a little bit too much to get into in this video. Here's your stereo output, stereo out. So all your signal will be going to the stereo out, which is this channel here. You can change that. You can put them on buses, which, like I said, is a little bit too much for this video, I feel. And this here is your automation. So you can use this to create automation. So what automation is, you can automate your volumes, you can automate almost anything inside that channel, which comes in handy when you're creating, doing your mixing, or you're creating and you're adding a few effects or some type of air candy, so it just keeps interest in your music. And then the stereo outputs, stereo, mono, add your effects, got the EQ again, Logic Pro stock EQ. You can get rid of that by just pressing command and click. And again, you can do some automation on there if you want, and that's your bounce button. So once you've created all your music, you can bounce it down to WAV or MP3, which I'll show you later on in the video. Next one we'll talk about is setting up your MIDI keyboard and your audio interface. So if you've got, say for example, Apollo Twin, you go to Logic Pro settings, audio, and just choose whatever audio interface that you're using. I'm using the Apollo Twin, so that's what I would choose here. Choose whatever you've got. If you haven't got one, then you're just going to probably use the Mac Studio speakers. But I would strongly suggest that you get an audio interface if you're looking to take this a little bit serious. So I just want to go to project handling, and in general, if you click on general and project handling, you can change what happens when you open a session in Logic Pro. Startup action, you can select a template, you can say to Logic do nothing or open your most recent project. I've kept mine on select a template because I've got a load of templates saved, and yeah, that's just what I like to keep on. So to set up your MIDI, so if you've got a MIDI keyboard and you want to trigger some sounds with your MIDI keyboard, and this is how you set up. Go to control surfaces and set up, and then you just go to new, install, look for your MIDI keyboard and set it up that way. And now you can start playing some sounds using your MIDI keyboard. If you haven't got a MIDI keyboard, press Command and K, and Logic's going to bring up a little keyboard thing that you can use using your keypad or keyboard. I've already explained the panels on the left. Press Y, that will bring up your library. Press I, that will bring up your inspector, where you can find all your effects and inserts. So let's open up an instrument. Let's go for some drums. Let's head over to electronic drums and click on After Party. So then we go to our channel and we can right click and click on Create Pattern Region. It's going to bring up this sequencer now that we can create some drums. So we're 120 BPM. Now let's go for 105. 4 to the floor. I'm just going to add in some MIDI. We can change the step sequencer to 32 steps and then add in some 4 to the floor drums. Whoops. So we've got a kick, snare, add some hi-hats in. We can change the velocities if you want, give it a bit of human feel. And we'll add another little sound in there. And then say for example we wanted to use some samples, we can go to the sample library, look for something that's in the similar BPM. And we're just going to drop that in. So you can audition the sound by just clicking on it. and we can turn it off that way. So now we've got a little loop in there and it's automatically synced. So let's just listen to how that sounds. Okay. Yeah, not my usual type of sound, but we run with it for now. Alright, let's get rid of that one. Let's try this. So we drop our loop in. So we can close that window. We can close our library. And say, for example, you have some MIDI instruments. You've got a nice bass synth that you want to use in there. We just go to our instruments and let's go with. So you want to add your own little bass in there. Open your instrument, choose your sound. Let's go for this club bass. And we're just going to play in our sound. So you notice that it's too loud. So just open up our mixer window by pressing X, or you can go to the top there and click on the mixer window. I'm just going to pull that, the loop. Sounds a bit aggressive, a bit loud. So we just pull that down. So we press record. It's going to give us a count in. And then we've got some new MIDI. So now we've got our MIDI notes for our bass. We can name it by double clicking in that little section on your channel. And then we can also color code them by pressing Alt and C, and that's going to bring up your color palette. So we've changed our bass. We choose a red and choose a color for the aggressive stance bass. Choose the green for that. And if we want to make it longer, we can highlight everything, press Command and R, and it's going to create some loops. Or you can just press L and it's going to create a whole loop. Bear in mind, if you press L on a loop and it creates a loop, you can only manipulate the sound from the first region. This is just a duplicate of the first region, really. Hope that's all making sense. So let's try another loop. And drop that into there. Drop that into your window. Now we've got two. And we're going to color code that. And if you press Command as well, when you press the color, it's going to change the color on your actual mixer window, as you can see. And then for the after party drums, you're going to go for red. It will change the color on your mixer window, and then you just change it on your region. So I showed you a little bit about the mixer window. Press X and you can manipulate the sound, the levels of your sounds. Here's your master volume fader. Again, leave that where it is, leave that on 0, because when you come to bouncing your track, you don't want it to be lower than everyone else's music out there. So just keep that on 0. I would advise to keep the stereo output on 0 as well. So that's sounding a bit funky. So the bass region that I've created, the MIDI notes that I created for the bass, they're a little bit off. We can go inside it and tweak out the sounds a little bit, just to make sure it's on the right notes. So as you can see, the first note didn't play, so we can bring that forward a touch. So we can highlight them all, press Q, and it's going to quantize to 16th note. And that's cool. It's better without that crazy stance bass. So you've created a little masterpiece. got a loop, and you want to record your vocals. So you might be a singer, rapper, and now you want to get some vocals down. I'm not a singer, I'm not a rapper, but I will record a little melody sort of thing so you can see how you can record vocals. So make sure that your input is selected on your interface, and then we're going to click on the eye just to make sure that we've got some signal. So let's get a little recording there. You've chose your channel, the input selected, your mic is on, and then we're going to click on the little eye down there in the channel so we can hear ourselves. And when you're ready, just press record and you're good to go. Mic check. With the mic check. With the 1 2. With the mic check. With the 1 2. With the check. So yeah, that's my little attempt at a freestyle. Not my thing. I'll leave it up to you artists. So now we can take it out of input monitoring because we don't want to hear ourselves anymore. I definitely don't want to hear myself. We can turn up the gain a bit if we haven't got the correct signal. I should have said to you in the beginning to make sure that you've got enough signal when you record, but it doesn't have to be super hot. As you can see, we can turn it up a bit later, but I would advise you to record at a decent level. So we've got some vocals here. Mic check. With the mic check. With the 1 2. With the mic check. With the 1 2. With the check. Mic check. Okay. I might have to add rapper to my repertoire. So we're going to add a little bit of reverb to the vocals. You can do it two ways. You can do it by just adding in the insert and then choosing reverb. We're going to go for chroma verb, nice and simple. And you've got some reverb. Mic check. With the mic check. With the 1 2. With the mic check. With the 1 2. With the check. Mic check. So we use this wet knob here just to give us the amount of reverb that we need. Mic check. With the mic check. With the 1 2. With the mic check. With the 1 2. So you notice the more wet you use, the more reverb that you get. And yeah, it's just preference and the sound that you want. So I'm not going to get into how to use it on buses. I'm just going to keep it simple and show you how to use it in an insert. You can also add other effects if you want to. You can add some delay in there. Just go to delay, choose your delay. Mic check. With the mic check. With the 1 2. With the mic check. With the 1 2. Same again with the output mix. You choose how much delay, how much of the effect you want to have on your sound. Mic check. So you've created your beat, you've recorded some vocals, and now, before you bounce it down, save it. Should have mentioned that to you earlier. So to save, you just press Command and S, and it's going to give you the option. It's going to bring up a box for you to save it. We're going to call this How to Get Started in Logic Pro. You can choose if you want to make it a package or a folder. I've been using folders for years, and I'll just keep it as that. Everything that you want to include inside your folder. So if you want to include your audio files, the samplers that you've used, the audio that you've used in the samplers, your ultra beat audio, which is another drum synth, and yeah, whatever you've used in your project, just click the box, check the box, and hit save. Make sure you're saving it in your Logic folder. So that's done, it's saved. You can go back to it, tweak again if you want, and do whatever you want with it. It's saved. When you're bouncing down your project, make sure that your locators are set to your project length. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going, keep going, and keep going, and keep going to the end of the project. And you don't want that. You just want to do whatever you've made. So you can highlight everything you've made. Press Command and U. If you've used some reverbs and whatnot, effects, then leave a little bit of a space which will allow for the reverbs and that to have a tail. Once you've set your locators, you're happy with your mix, you're ready to bounce down your file, your song. So press Command and B. It's going to bring up a box for you. You've got your destination, WAV, MP3 is the two that I use most. Then you've got your file type, your bit depth, your sample rate, your format, your dithering. I just stick with WAV 24-bit 44.1 kilohertz. you can change the mode. So if you choose real time, you're going to hear it in real time. If you choose offline, you're not going to hear it, but it's a lot quicker. And sometimes you might be in a rush and you just want to get it done quick. Normalize, I like to keep off. You can change that if you want, have the overload protection on, but I don't really like to use that. So once we're happy with that, we press OK. We've chosen name, how to get started in Logic Pro, which is what we saved it as. And we're ready to bounce. So click bounce. Cringe, absolute cringe. So that's done. Then we're going to go to our folder, how to get started in Logic Pro, checking our bounces folder, and there you go. I don't know if I'm going to add that into the video. Anyway, now you know how to get started in Logic Pro. You've got a better understanding of how to create from scratch. So once you open Logic Pro, you know where your loops are, where your MIDI is, how to record audio. And now that you know that, it might be a good idea to understand how to use buses and sends, which I mentioned earlier in the video. So go and check that out, and I'll see you over there.